Hey guys, it's Quana. Welcome back to another review. Hope you guys are doing awesome. So, if you're like me, you just recently watched This Is Us Season 6, Episode 3, entitled Four Fathers. This is an episode where we're getting the POVs of four of the Pearson men or Pearson adjacent men, Jack, Toby, Kevin, and Randall, as they tackle fatherhood and its many challenges. This was a really good episode, guys. I was very pleased with the pacing of this episode. Although I do have some criticisms and I have some theories about what's to come. So before we dive into our recap for tonight, do me a favor and click the subscribe button down below so that you can be here with me as we journey through this season. I think we're somewhere at about 15 episodes remaining before This Is Us heads off into the sunset. And I would love for you to take that journey with me. So tonight I was a little bit on the struggle bus because if you live in the Southeast, you recently got some snow and it's kind of thrown everything out of whack. And so I was like a smidgen late getting the show up and loaded. And I was like, dang it, because when you're watching like the live TV feature, you can't rewind. So I missed the first couple of seconds, which, if I'm not mistaken, were a flash forward with baby Jack, or at least kind of like a voiceover a little bit with baby Jack, which I love. I love that element because I think we haven't seen a lot of baby Jack. I think we all kind of thought we were going to get more of baby Jack's storyline, because they have presented so much of his storyline in season 4 or the beginning part of season 5, because it's been a little while and we haven't gotten much of him since then. And so that was really nice little touch. We got to see him, and I believe the woman who was casted to play his wife, now I haven't seen his episodes in a while, so I don't remember if it was the actual actress, because when we saw her at one juncture, we kind of got a chance to see like their relationship in kind of like high speed mode, and then them going into labor or having kids. So it's a little dicey, but anyways. And then we go into our Jack in the past, and he's trying to spend some time with the kids. He's going to take them to go to the movies, see their first movie theater. Were you like me, like jealous of the $8 on the 3 buckets of popcorn with the Raisinets? I was like, can we go back to those days in terms of the prices of things? I was like, gosh, it would have been $8 per box of Raisinets, let alone the bucket of popcorns would have been $10. I was like, man, that was amazing. The 80s. what happened? Um, in terms of Jack's flashback, we see him spending time with the kids. He's struggling to connect with them. Kevin, forever the problem child, runs off and leaves the theater while Jack is asleep and goes missing. We don't really get a chance to see Jack in full panic mode looking for him. We kind of see the after effects. And I remember being that little kid who went missing once, and like the hysteria of my mom when she found me. Like, I thought I was going to be killed. Like, oh, they got me and now I'm going to die because my mom is going to kill me. So everyone's a little calm in that scene, especially Rebecca. I was very shocked because she's usually a lot more high strung. But that's okay. I was okay with her not being high strung because we already had kind of like one very stressed out mom in this episode. Well, two very stressed out moms this episode, so I was kind of okay with that. And it was a nice tie-in and just talking about the conversation around, dad's struggling, and sometimes life is hard trying to balance work and kids, especially if you're trying to be a good dad. So often what we see in the media is dads who are very hands-off. Their only focus is on their career and providing, but not emotionally providing. We know that that's definitely not been Jack's MO. But I will say, as a critique, it is still feeling somewhat empty because I feel like we've gotten so much out of Milo, who is phenomenal. But we've gotten so much of Jack from Milo that now, knowing all that we know about Jack, knowing his history from beginning to end to some degree, there's not a lot more left that I am needing. I like the moments with him and Rebecca and just their romance because he was so important. But to be honest, because for a long time I have felt like now that Rebecca's older and we haven't gotten those moments to see her and Miguel really bond, I almost would rather that time go to Miguel. Now I get it. Milo is still one of the biggest names attached to this show, so they're gonna constantly try to find ways to put him in. And he is still the foundation of the Pearson family. Like everyone is still chasing after the type of dad that Jack was and the type of parent that Jack was. But I'm just not sure how I feel about it, especially given that it seems like we're gonna get a very, very heavy Jack-centered episode. Next week. I'm not certain how I feel about it. Let me know down below in the comments what you're thinking. Are you kind of feeling a little empty when we get these Jack flashbacks? Moving on to Toby, my man Toby. I still don't know how they're going to get us to the point where we are completely okay with Toby and Kate's relationship imploding. I could see them sprinkling the seeds, and almost like that speech he gives to Kevin later on was as much for us, the audience who's going to love Kate and Toby, as it was for Kevin. But anyhow, as we know, Toby is still traveling for work, working in another city, coming home, visiting, and really struggling with being there with his kids, forming those attachments. We also know that Toby really struggled with Jack being blind. So to see him grow so much where he's finding all these little nifty toys for Jack to play with that have sound so that he can learn how to do some of the things that, you know, Toby has envisioned doing with his son. Those are the things that I love to see, that he still is trying, he's putting the effort, he's reversing some of the not so good things that we saw about Toby in the earlier season. And they're supposed to be spending a night out. They're going to go to a recital that's being held at the school, and then they're going to go out for frozen yogurt and have a good time. And it's really, really sweet. But of course, Toby is feeling left out. They've got this sitter who he doesn't know. They're not he's not sure if he's comfortable with the kids. He wants to spend time with the kids. He gets the kids all thrown off a schedule. All things which are natural and happen to parents who are even just there. Things happen. And so to see him and Kate kind of struggle out of step to parent, it was really kind of heartbreaking, especially because you could see how much effort he was putting in. And not to say that Kate obviously is putting that effort. She's the one who has to maintain. And I have been that parent who had to be there while the spouse was away. And there's certain things that once you get kids on a schedule, you really want to maintain that as much as possible. And so we saw that not just Kate, but even the sitter was like, whoa, they're usually asleep by the time they're with me. What is going on? I don't know how to handle this. And so to see that disconnect between them was a little heartbreaking, especially because I am just not sure how I'm feeling about Mr. Man, Mr. Principal, being her future hubby. It's just not doing anything for me yet. And then later on, we get that sweet moment with, I mean, we had lots of sweet moments with Toby and Kevin. Can we be brother-in-laws who kiss moment, that was kind of cute. Of course, little kids build houses that are squares because they think that that's the strongest structure, but really the strongest structure is a triangle. And that was foreshadowing, I think, so much. I think the disillusion of his marriage, and also where we are with Kevin and Madison. Kevin and Madison are struggling to co-parent, and Kevin really is the one who's struggling because, much like Toby, he's missing out on so many moments that are key. He's coming over in the morning, spending some time with the kids, but he's really missing out on a lot of the key moments because Madison is over trying to establish her own life, trying to date, trying to raise the kids. And I don't begrudge her any of those things. And obviously from the flash forward, we know that they're going to figure it out and they're going to be okay. But it really is sad to see like Kevin struggle with like missing his daughter's first steps and all of those different things. And then he's on the set of The Manny, and I could just see this is just got bad idea written all over it. Like this young guy taking off his shirt and Kevin has matured so much that he's just like, I'm not here for this. This is not, it makes me think of, if you're familiar with James Avery being on Good Times, and him struggling with the JJ character, and how overly comedic, more physical comedy it was kind of going toward, I'll use that term, and less of a social commentary that he was bringing to it, more trained in the arts kind of. And that's kind of where Kevin is, and it just made me think of that so much. And so eventually he goes back to Madison, and he's talking to her, and there's a moment where she's saying to him, you know, one of us is going to miss out on things. And I really think that he is going to go after custody of the twins. That is, between the speech that Toby gave him and that moment where she was really kind of dismissive. And I mean, I understand from a logical perspective what she was saying, but she really was dismissive of his feelings, and kind of like, I don't have time for your feelings. It's a hard pill to swallow, I think, from the viewer, from me being a fan of the show, knowing that Kevin did want to marry her. Kevin did want to have a family with her. Kevin wanted to be with her and their family together. Even if, okay, yes, they might have rushed things. It may not have been right for her. And she is completely valid in her, you know, decision to leave him. But then to be so dismissive of his feelings, it was just a little harsh for me. And I was like, you know what? She was the one who, yes, she initially never wanted kids. So not to say she shouldn't have them, but I could completely see him going after more of an active role in their life, and it becoming kind of a thing. Now, obviously, in the flash forward, they are kind of have a good relationship going, and who knows, they may reconcile. But at the end of the night, he picked up the phone, and people online were saying it was Sophie. I'm almost 100% positive that was Jennifer Morrison playing Cassidy that he was calling, which, of course, they brought Cassidy in at one point as a potential love interest. A bad idea from a realistic perspective, two addicts getting together. But yet, who knows, you know? I mean, they might work something out. I will say this. On last week's episode, Nikki mentioned going out east to help with building the cabin, and I don't recall Kevin mentioning it at all. And we had that middle montage moment of, you know, them with the coffees and everything else. And unless, well, we do know that this is all a week later based off of the Deja Randall storyline. So I was kind of confused why we didn't see or hear anything about that, but I guess we'll get to it later. And then finally, daddy number 4 of the night, we have Randall. Woo, my stomach was tight because we all saw the promo that he finds out as they're practicing. He decides he's taking Deja out to practice driving on the road. They're going to spend some quality time together, some father-daughter time. And she gets that call from Malik talking about, it was so good seeing you last week, and I can't sleep without you in the bed. Boy, bye. That's such a line. Like, you slept with this girl one night. You can sleep without her. You've been sleeping without her for 18 years. You'll be okay. Like, why do men pull that? Pull that I can't sleep without you line. Whatever. And it hits the fan. That scene with Randall and Beth where they're both fuming and steaming, and he's pacing, and Beth is hype and he's hype, and she's like, one of us got to go in there, and he's like, I'm cool. Then he's like, no, I'm not cool, I'm about to go for a run. And so Beth ends up having to go in there. We don't get a chance to really see, but obviously they're going to connect in the sense that they're females, and she probably understands a little bit more about how Deja feels. Randall comes back and he puts the daddy foot down, and he's like, look, I can appreciate that you're my little girl and you're growing up, but you are still a junior in high school. Slow your roll. It's gonna be a little while before you see a little boyfriend again. Beth then already told him, we can't stop this. It's going to be bad. I'm going to put her on birth control. We got to deal with the fact that she is growing up and she's not a little kid anymore. If we go in there and say she can't see him, it's going to implode. He tells Deja, you're not going to see your little boyfriend for a little while. And she looks at him and says, well, that's going to be a problem. Ma'am, we are not grown yet. We're not grown. You don't get out near one bill. Not one bill. Not for nothing. Not for nothing, because maybe we do get some of them next week. But that's what I want to see next week. Like, I don't want to lose the momentum of this storyline to go back into a flashback to get Jack's mom passing, which is sad, but we already obviously know that she's been dead for a very long time. So the only thing that I am assuming is that this is a way that they can show the families dealing with death in preparation or parallel to what's going to happen at the end of the season with Rebecca dying. And while I can appreciate that, we have some very juicy storylines going on right now that I do not want to lose the momentum of. And it's like, I want to see what comes next. MVP of the night is Beth, followed by Toby. Honorable mention is Toby. They had the best lines of the night. Kevin better watch out for that little girl who's trying to get her hooks into him. Stay away from her. So I guess it's a good thing that he called Cassidy. So we have a lot of good seeds at play here, but it's also so scary because it's so much good storyline with only 15 episodes left. Like, how is all of this going to come to an end? But I definitely think what we find out in the flash forward with Jack is that this smoker that Toby wants to buy with Kate as a way to like spend family time, it's going to cause some kind of accident where, you know, he's supposed to be watching little Jack or something and Jack's going to get hurt, and it's going to be the moment that their relationship dissolves. And I am not looking forward to that at all, because Toby is still such a likable character, at times so much more likable than Kate, that I'm really dreading that moment. But we have a lot of good storyline. We've got Nikki and Edie. Anytime you bring Randall and Beth, it's a good time. And I am interested to see who Kevin's going to end up with. Are him and Madison going to patch things up? Is he going to end up with Cassidy? Guys, he's not ending up with Sophie. I'm sorry. He's just not ending up with Sophie. That ship has sailed. It has gone away. Bon voyage. Like, it's just not, I just don't think it's going to happen. So for those of you holding out hope, I'm so sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I don't think it's going to happen, okay? But I do think we have some potential for some cute things to happen, such as he and Madison or he and Cassidy. So let me know down below in the comments who you think Kevin's going to end up with. Let me know, are you Team Toby or Team Kate? Okay. And I will say this, I watched the flash forwards again, and there was a moment where Randall and adult Deja make eye contact, and it was really weird and uncomfortable, but then she hugs him, he hugs her, she puts her head on his chest, kind of like I do with my daddy, and all was right with the world. So I do know whatever they're going through, they will get past that. I'm not worried about that at all. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. Let me know down below in the comments what you thought, and I will see you after the next one. Toodles!